screen in a second, saying, just letting you all know that we're recording. Okay, and so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to be going over to the split screen, so you can actually see today's formal lesson, and it's quite handy. It is quite a short one. Okay, so what I'd like you to do, I'd just like you to treat this like a normal lesson, please. I would like you to take notes, and then hopefully you've been practicing over the last few days how to upload onto Teams. Okay, I very much recommend that you watch Mr. Buchanan's video in particular, because that's really clear on the buttons you have to press in order that when you upload it onto Teams, that we can mark it. Okay, so you've got to follow it and just really take your time and pause this video where you need to. Okay, because what I'd like you all to be doing, I want you to be treating your class notebook page, and then where it says classwork, I want you to be treating that like your folder at school, like your LibreArch file. Okay, so I want you just to be uploading all your work into classwork, please. And then just fiddle around and make sure you start learning how you can do new tabs. So it'd be great if you could just go and file this away, either under a tab that you could call 12, and then you could have separate pages in there. So you need to play around a bit and really start treating your class notebook, class notes, I think it's called. That's where I really want to be your LibreArch folder. So up to now, I think a lot of you have been storing stuff in homework, which totally makes sense. But from my point of view, it's really awkward because I have to keep clicking on all the tabs until I find the right tab. So it would be great if all the lessons that we've been doing, you could go back and make sure all the work that you've uploaded has gone into the class. I think it says class notes. I think it says. You might find that if you've uploaded everything into the homework folder, just change the name of the folder to classwork. That would be much quicker. Anyway, back to today's lesson. So please, can you go and title it up Solving Quadratic Inequalities? Now, this is going to require us, as one of the steps, to be factorising the quadratic. So a nice, easy peasy one. Can you all please just go and factorise what's on the screen as the starter? This is going to be what we build upon as we just model our first answer. So if you could all just go and factorise x squared plus 7x plus 10, please. I will do that on the screen in a second. Okay, so just to remind you all, our two magic numbers multiply to be the 10, and yet at the same time they've got to add to be the 7. So obviously the two magic numbers are 2 and 5. There's 2 times 5 is 10, 2 add 5 is 7. So factorise, you get x plus 2 and x plus 5. Easy peasy. I know it never happens in lessons, but just on the hugely remote possibility that I actually do make a mistake, you are allowed to unmute and just correct me, okay? Again, it never happens, does it? But just in case. Right. Okay, so this is building on that example, okay? So let's imagine we were then going to be sketching the equation y equals x squared plus 7x plus 10. So we're just extending this from having factorized it to practicing sketching the equation y equals x squared plus 7x plus 10. You would kick off and go and factorize. Then you would go and solve it. So you would go and set it equaling to 0. And do you remember that what two values of x are such that this becomes 0? Well, how do we make this first bracket 0? X is minus 2. And how do we make the second bracket 0? Well, that would be x being minus 5. So if we then go and sketch this, now we know it's going to be a positive parabola, we know it's going to be a smiley face graph, and we know, because we've got its solutions, that it crosses the x-axis at minus 2 and minus 5. So we would then just put our smiley face going through there. So that we've done that before, sketching quadratic graphs. Now the new bit, and again it's only one extra little bit, okay, is on this slide. So can you just go on the left-hand side of the page and say that imagine we were solving x squared plus 7x plus 10 was greater than or equal to 0. So please can you just copy that down? So it's the same quadratic we've been using all the way through, but we're now considering solving the inequality x squared plus 7x plus 10 is greater than or equal to 0. Now, when it's greater than 0, we want all the points which are above the x-axis. So all these points here and all these points here. These are all the points on the curve which are greater than or equal to 0. So how do we go and explain to the person marking that we know it's all of those points? Now we've got two separate stretches of points. We've got this stretch of points on the left. Now that stretch of points are all the points where x is less than or equal to -5. Okay. Now the equals bit is we just add that on because the question has an equals bit. Okay. But can you see that that stretch of points there, those are all the points going on forever to the left where the x coordinate is less than -5. And then the separate stretch of points on the right is where x is greater than or equal to -2. So it's all these points here where the x coordinate is all these points here. So x is greater than or equal to -2. Now the key learning point, because it's two stretches of points, two separate stretches of points, your answer must include two inequalities. So x is greater than or equal to -2, comma, x is less than or equal to -5. Now, however, imagine the question had been different and had said x squared plus 7x plus 10 is less than 0. We then want all the coordinates below the x-axis, so that's all these points here. Now that is a single stretch of points, so we can express that as a single inequality. Now, because the question did not have an equal sign, our answer will not have an equal sign as part of the inequalities. Now, what is this stretch of points? It's all the points which are greater than -5 but less than -2. So we just write that, we put x in the middle, so x is less than -2, but at the same time, x is greater than -5. So key point, one stretch of points, one inequality on the right. On the left, two stretches of points, so two inequalities as the answer. Okay, now one thing I forgot to say, you all might have queries and you might be very tempted to sort of interrupt and just ask. I think it's best that we don't. I'll try and go nice and slowly. But what I want you to do, clearly this isn't going to take the whole hour, or even if it's, this afternoon or another day, just use the Teams post page just to say, look, Mr. Withers, I still don't get that, blah, blah, blah. And, we can get a dialogue going and I can help you out. Anyway, so that's the modelled example. So what I would like you, please, so this is the key bit of the lesson. I would like you, please, to do the two that are on your screen now. So they're two separate questions. So step 1, you are going to go and factorise, assuming that they equal 0. Step 2, you will go and do a sketch. And having, just before you do the sketch, remember, once you factorise, you then solve it, so it becomes equal to 0, so you get your two solutions. You get the 2 points where it crosses the x-axis. That allows you to do the sketch. Then think about it. If it's less than or equal to, it's the points below the x-axis. If it's greater than, it's the points above the x-axis, and then just get your inequality. So I'm just going to go and quickly grab another cup of tea and leave you working on these two. I'll be back in about 2 minutes. see how you're getting on. So the one on the left, our two magic numbers multiply. I do have a backup of the next slide being the answers. I might have to resort to that. I was hoping to do it on the screen myself, but temporarily, I think my pen is playing up. I'll keep on fiddling with it, but I'll give you a couple more minutes. Because I think when I go to the next slide, it's just going to reveal the answers. I can't break it to you slowly. All right, I think I'm going to move on to the next slide. You may not have finished yet. As I said before, don't worry about that. You can obviously come back and complete it once the recording's finished. So here are the answers. Okay, so with the one on the left, when you factorised, you should have got x minus 2 and x minus 3. Okay, so that gives us the solutions of positive 2 and positive 3. Pop a smiley face in. Because we want the set of points which are less than 0, we've got the points where x is less than or equal to 3 and greater than or equal to 2. One stretch of points, one inequality, and we've included the equal sign as part of the inequalities because the question did. Right, moving on to the one on the right. Our two magic numbers multiply to be minus 12, but add to be plus 1. So that's 4 and minus 3. Okay, so our solutions are plus 3 and minus 4. Remember, if you set this equal to 0, to make the first bracket 0, x is 3. To make the second bracket 0, x is minus 4. Now, with this one, we want the stretches of points which are greater than 0. So above the x-axis, so this set of points here and this set of points here. This set of points here is when x is less than minus 4, and this stretch of points here is when x is greater than 4. By accident. Okay, so so this one here on the right, the one I've highlighted in pink, it's two stretches of points. So two inequalities. Now, again, somebody's accidentally muted. I'm just hearing a bit of feedback. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to put up the question and then the answer for a few. Clearly, you're not going to have enough time to do them now. But the idea is that you wait for the recording to upload onto Teams posts. And then you can play these back, pause the video, find the question, pause the video, and then see the answer. I don't want to make this video really long while I wait for you to do these other ones. So there's the question. There's the answer. There is, and that's it. That was the only one I've got. Sorry, I thought there's going to be another question. There isn't. So what I'm going to do, guys, that is the end of the formal bit of the lesson. So just stay muted for now. I'm just going to stop the recording. Okay, I'm just going to stop the recording. So stop the recording.